following Best of Bass Talk Live is brought to you by Lowrance. It's time for BTL. This weekend, a lot of rumors flowing around, a lot of factual information also flowing around after yesterday based upon the sources that we have. And Matthew, there's some changes coming.
Yeah, number one is the West Coast swing is out and will be replaced with 2 other venues. I would assume not on the West Coast.
Now we got into a little discussion before the show in discussing this, and let's face it,
now, the official press release is not. There has not been a press release from Bass about this that is on their website that is public.
Right. But we have confirmed from sources.
Ike was talking about it on Ike Live on Sunday.
There's a lot of other stuff being discussed on Ike Live,
but
too.
Anyway, it's gone. No West Coast.
But they're not doing it.
And Sacramento.
And I think this is a result of, obviously, everything that is taking place in the posturing or whatever is in the works from an MLF standpoint, that they are trying to appease. When I say they, Bass, they are trying to appease the masses and make the best business decision for all parties involved. You tend to disagree with that.
Oh, they royally. Here's the way I looked at it. So if every year the Bass schedule comes out. Last time they went to the West Coast, 2015. So they go about every 5 years just to keep them happy. 2010, 2015. Every year the schedule comes out. No West Coast, no West Coast. Why are you ignoring us? We have Kemp around talking on about it. I know there's a bunch of logistics out there, but you look at the message boards and the feed and the Facebook. Why are you ignoring the West? They take away the Western Opens. They've got a bunch of guys that they still follow that fish the Elite Series. A bunch of those Western guys out there. I mean, they're diehard tournament anglers, and they're damn good at it too. So now you give them, this is the way I looked at it, now you give them the Christmas present. You say, not only that, we're going to the Columbia River, we're going to a new fishery. That's what you guys always complain about. We never go to new fisheries, never. We'll throw a wahi in this year, blah, blah, blah. Now we'll go to the river in Washington. Then they say we're going back to the Sacramento River, the Delta, awesome place, great crowds there. Christmas present, boom, you got it. You wanted it, here's the West Coast swing. That's your Christmas present. Then they wake up on December 26th and they say, just kidding, we're taking your present back. We're returning it. I mean, are you going to want to be loyal to that organization after they toy with you and you're barely hanging on by a thread anyway?
It is not a present. And what you need to understand is they are trying to run a business in a reaction mode. This is not a proactive move, because if it was a proactive move, they would have already made the decision, look, 22,000 miles in one season, that's way too many. That puts too much expense and too much burden. All right? This is a reaction to the masses. This is a posturing to appease how they think that they're going to be able to salvage or save who they had.
The masses, as far as 30 pissed off guys you didn't want to drive out west?
It's more than that. It's more than that.
Okay.
All right. And what you
I understand why they did it. Let me say
hang on, let me finish. Okay. What you forget is that the majority of those people that you're referring to, West Coast guys, have already moved. They no longer live out there. There's a couple that still live out there, and that's it. And
but
we can go
still West Coast guys.
We could go back to shows that we've done 10 years ago where they're missing the boat. Is they need to have a presence out there in the West prior to the Elite Series. They need to have not just a Western swing, but they need to have a Bass brand presence out there. Even if it's a small one, they should still contract out and give those people a taste of the brand with what they can offer. If they want to commit the dollars and really try and build the brand in the West, that's what they have to do. Now, having said that, and I've said that 15 years ago, having said that, this move is nothing but a reactive move based upon the circumstances that they believe and everybody else believes is taking place. Until we get verification, until that press release comes out, we are not going to picture or think or premise what MLF might be doing.
Okay, we won't do that, but we can read a Facebook post, right?
Read away.
So yesterday at 2:56 p.m., Matt Herron posts on his post. He's got a picture of the MLF logo, and then he said, "Fishermen talk when something that affects the industry as much as this. It's a full-on rumor mill." I'm just reading exactly what it says.
Right.
MLF Tour looks like it will happen, but it will divide and hurt the industry. And many anglers in the but will it divide and hurt the industry and many anglers in the process? Question mark. Wonder what the field size will be. What's the selection criteria? Will it be by career stats, sponsor alignment, or popularity? Rumor has it that 80 pro angler field. Will the field be made of the top anglers or anglers who are aligned with or related to the correct sponsors? Who knows? And there's like 130 comments underneath it. So that tells you pretty much everything you need to know.
Yeah. And
well said. I mean,
once again, until the press release comes out and until the announcement's made, for all practical purposes, it is a rumor. Mm-hmm. It's not a fact until the facts are absolutely out there. Now, could that post be correct in every aspect? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if that is the case, there is going to be, I don't know if chaos is the right term, but there is going to be a very challenging situation for guys to decide what they do, because you have three main factors. One is money. The factor, money. Mm-hmm. Okay, how much is it going to cost me? Two, how is this going to limit or increase my ability to market my brand? And then the third thing is, what are my current sponsors going to want me to do? Where do they want me to play the game? How do they want me to present my brand in which one? Mm-hmm. And actually, there's three.
There's FLW,
there's MLF,
and BASS.
And Bass. So we have never seen the challenges in this game that we're about to go through, I'd say this week, next week, or the week after. And forward and onward.
What's going on? I don't know. I mean, normally I'd just say it's the fall. I mean, in the fall, anglers get antsy and they start getting ornery online. But there's a lot going on, obviously, in the industry. And to be honest, I mean, my take on it is I'm a tournament announcer. You know what I mean? I work for Bass, and, you know, I don't really have a vested interest to even have an opinion, really. You know what I mean? I mean, but here's the one thing I will say I've got an opinion on. All anglers, everybody involved, no matter what ends up happening, wherever it ends up happening, and whoever's announcement ever does come out, think about the industry first. One of the things that drives me crazy is we're already set. We're already separated as it is with Bass and FLW and, you know, and MLF stuff. So all I care about is that the industry is strong. You know what I mean? Honestly, that we all think about, you know, the separation and what that did to our sport in the past, really. I mean, if you look at it, we've been through this before. If it does happen, I mean, have we not? I mean, FLW, a bunch of guys took off to FLW. They were being lured away by what? Money. And that's the same thing that we're hearing. And I'm not saying that in a wrong way. These guys deserve to get paid. I have the utmost respect for the pro anglers. You guys know that. It's not. But what I'm saying is, it's business. This happens, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and a whole lot of stuff. On today's show, Matthew, I'm going to say this right now. This week so far, and we're only into Thursday, probably the craziest week in the history of the game of professional bass fishing.
We are about 42 hours into the MLF Bass Pro Tour era.
I told you it was coming. You didn't believe me. You didn't believe me that something was going to happen.
I did not. That is not the truth. I knew something was going to happen, but it was until it happened. It wasn't worth talking about. Now it's worth talking about. Press release came out about an hour after the conclusion of our show on Tuesday morning. From MLF. Announcing, I'll just read off the first line here to get everybody up to speed so you know what we're talking about the rest of the show. This is straight from their press release. It said officials announced today, which was Tuesday, a significant expansion beginning in 2019. Moving on down, it says the expanded MLF program includes the addition of the Bass Pro Tour, a premier 80-angler, 8-event tour with a championship and heightened payouts. Made possible through the enthusiastic support from Bass Pro Shops and the Outdoor Sportsman's Group. Scroll down a little bit to more, and it says, while MLF will continue its popular Cup events and the World Championship airing on Outdoor Channel and CBS, respectively, it will now have its own new Bass Pro Tour competitions and championship and eventual tour qualifiers, all of which will use the same entertaining MLF format in which numbers caught can often contribute more to angler scores than does big fish. They also assembled a PBT partnership. It says after assembling 13 more of the sport's top level professionals, the PBT partnership was formed. We always believe in elevating the visibility of our sport to everyone in the industry, and it would be beneficial. That's a Boyd Duckett quote. And then it says MLF officials will announce the finalized MLF Bass Pro Tour schedule, format, and anglers in the coming weeks. What has it been like since this thing came out Tuesday? I know I've been on the phone a lot. I looked at my phone yesterday. I think I spent about 6.5 hours on the phone based on all the different calls that I had. And obviously you're right in the middle of this along with the other anglers. Just talk about, from an insider's perspective, as an angler who has been at the pinnacle of both of these things, the MLF and the Classic Champion and on the Elite Series, are there a bunch of guys calling and talking? Are guys scared, excited, frustrated, clueless? What's the vibe that you're getting from your fellow anglers?
Man, everything it's just overwhelming how excited everybody is about it. I think they just see the opportunity, and I was amazed. I thought there'd be some more reservations than what there are, but everybody I've talked to is just excited. They just, I think they're really, really excited that, what's before us and the chances that we have to move forward.
Edwin, how important is it to have the backing of Johnny Morris and KSE, Kroenke Sports Entertainment?
Really important. Kroenke's going to be, it's a multi-gigantic media platform that is going to be huge for us, and then so is Johnny. And, Johnny is such a conservation-minded angler and does so much for our sport that, we needed his blessing to go forward. If we didn't have his blessing, then, we wouldn't be doing this, because he is so important to the industry in so many different ways. And, he's trying to protect the industry and stands for everything that the industry is. And just a great individual that I think he's taking a little heat over this, but it's not needed because he's trying to do what's best for the whole industry.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. A special BTL show on a Monday. As you look at a shot of Matthew, he is in Tulsa getting ready to depart for the AOI Championship. He is in Tulsa, and Matthew, the craziness and chaos continues, my friend.
It is. It seems like every day now, Mark, something comes down the pipeline that changes things in professional bass fishing, which is crazy because for the past 10, 11 years I've been doing this, not much has changed, and now it's changing on a daily basis.
Well, there was some information that was sent out to the Elite Series field, and this information, I got to tell you, we talked about it on our last show. We don't know exactly what Major League Fishing is going to offer their guys. The details have really not been distributed to the masses. But I did make the statement that whatever Bass comes out with, or whatever MLF comes out with, or whoever, it doesn't matter. I think we're going to get into okay, well, you did this, now we're going to do that. And then when that one does that, then this one is going to do this. So a big key to this whole thing is the fact that you do have a reactive situation that is really developed. And what I've seen and what our sources have told us, Matthew, this thing that Bass is coming out with, it's pretty good.
It's very impressive. One way to kind of get into this, and I've been kind of talking to several of the Elite Series anglers, other people in the media, people who have a vested interest in how this shakes out, let's say, is to kind of get a pulse. Let me read the Instagram post that Chris Zaldane posted a day ago. And he said, "Today is a big day." You have to read into this a little bit, Mark, okay?
Okay, all right.
"Today is a big day. I'm shopping for a new vehicle. As much as I love the one I've got, there may be a better option out there. This new vehicle must be dependable, innovative, and forever lasting. I hope I find what I'm looking for today. If not, upgrades to my current vehicle don't look too bad."
Yeah, I got a feeling he's not shopping for a new truck there, okay? He's not looking for a new set of wheels. So
anyway, that's the vibe that I'm getting as a whole, Mark, is the guys liked what they saw through what Bass kind of counter offered with.
And it's not really a counter offer because I don't think we really know.
That's a fair point.
You know,
with what Bass rolled out.
Yeah, it's what they rolled out because they knew that this situation has developed, obviously, with what took place last week. So I'm sure discussion in the conference room and what they have decided to roll out is just like you said. It's very impressive. And now you have decisions that have to be made. I know I was in a text conversation with somebody I'm not going to mention, but I made the comment, okay, wait a minute. Is this a business decision now or is this a fishing decision now? And the text came back immediately. This is a business decision. All right. It's not really about the fishing now. And I agree with them 100%. Even before all this stuff came out, I think it really should have been a business decision. But now with what Bass is throwing out there, it truly becomes not just a decision for 2019, but it becomes a decision from 2019 and beyond. Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, back from the road, an exciting week in Georgia, and the guy I said was going to get it done, got it done.
Justin Lucas closes the year with 5 straight top 12 finishes and blows the thing away for his first.
Did I not say that?
Angler of
Did I not
the
say
year
that?
title. Very impressive.
Did I not say that?
Yeah, you
just
said
admit it.
You said he was going to.
Speak up. You're very quiet. You're very,
no, you
very
said
quiet.
He was going to win. Obviously, Josh Bertrand leaves after he struggled on day one. Only had 2 fish. Actually had 3. Tongue hooked one. Threw it back early in the morning. But it did not matter even if he had won the tournament. He left to go be with his wife, who was expecting any day. But Lucas needed a top 9 to secure the Angler of the Year. He finished 7th. Very impressively done. And now he's got a Angler of the Year title to put in between his 2 blue trophies. And an interesting week in beautiful Lake Chattooga in Georgia.
All right, I want to mention real quick also the Rookie of the Year race. Who got it done for the tiny trophy?
Jake Whitaker overcomes Roy Hawk. Remember, we had both of them on. Roy Hawk said it was one of the places that he came and actually practiced. Jake Whitaker has a lot of history, a lot of experience on Chattooga. It was like a 1-point race after the first day. And then Roy stumbled on the second day, came back with 15 on the last day. Whitaker grinded it out. The conditions were not ideal to what he wanted to do there with the dropping water and the boat pressure. But, man, I talked with him, and I'll have a feature coming out with him on Bass Zone here in the next couple weeks. But a very impressive rookie campaign for Jake Whitaker, who went out. We talked about he cashed the 5 in a row and then got himself some Angler of the Year money, got into the Bassmaster Classic next year, and is set up to make some money in this game for the next couple of years.
All right, man. Speaking of money, obviously with everything going down, we've got a great show today. We're going to have Boyd Duckett on here in about 15, 20 minutes, hopefully live via Skype. If not, he will be on via the phone. And a number of questions remain with the announcement of Major League Fishing, and we've been talking about that. And what we're going to do now is Matthew has put together a pretty good order of the events that have taken place over the past 2-3 weeks.
It's a rough timeline. You kind of look at social media and look at some of the anglers who have come out and some of the questions that you see on all the message boards, and really it's and for me and you who are in the industry, it's kind of hard to get your head around everything that's going on from all the different aspects. So I've got together, a little, just kind of a timeline that encompasses kind of how all this went down. Now, some of it's public knowledge, some of it is not public knowledge, but it just kind of gives you an idea of how we ended up here at 8:37 a.m. on September 25th, about to talk to Boyd Duckett.
Yep.
So, in 2018, and you kind of alluded to this and stuff, there were some rumors that guys were throwing around the idea of starting a new tour. No one really knew what it was, whether it would involve other entities merging, whether MLF would come out with something, but those rumors kind of ramped up as the season went on. So then July 25th, the Chesapeake Bay Elite Series event gets canceled. Remember, we went there, we flew back for 2 days. The meeting there, the angler meeting, was not, from what I have been told, did not go well. It kind of seemed like an opening. And then, on August 1st, the Chesapeake Bay was canceled. And there was a lot of, would you not say that in all your years of covering it, it was the most disgruntled you had seen a group of anglers that visibly voiced their opinion?
Yes.
I've never seen anything like that in my
absolutely.
life. Never seen them come out and say it.
Absolutely.
It says in their contract they really can't bash the organization they're with.
They were
there was
very
a lot of
vocal.
bashing. Yeah. So then on August 30th, FLW announces their partnership with the White River Marine Group. It's the Nitros, the Triton, the Johnny Morris owned brand of boats, along with Ranger then.
Yes.
And then on August 31st, FLW has a press release that for the first time I think they've ever done it, they opened up priority entries to that top 100 and the qualifiers for the next year's tour, and they opened it up on September 5th, which was like 2 weeks after the Cup.
Yeah.
So that was super early. So I know that definitely raised a few eyebrows. Then on September 11th, MLF comes out with the bombshell announcement, the Pro Bass Tour, 80 anglers and increased payout. Not a lot of details in it. A lot of quotes about kind of what their vision is for this tour. More coming out in the coming weeks. Then that same day, there were a couple really interesting meetings in like a 24, 48 hour period that involved like Johnny Morris and some of his representatives from Cronky and some anglers that were talking with some major buyers. And then Bass had a confidential video conference where Chase Anderson had all the Elite Series anglers on it and basically said, hey, we're coming out with something. We can't disclose anything right now. So that all happened September 11th and September 12th. That was a busy 24-hour period. Then September 15th, Bass released that 16-page, what they called the nitty-gritty, the next generation of bass tournaments. You can go back and listen to the 40-minute show that we did on that. That was September 15th. Then September 15th and 16th, that weekend, somewhere around there, MLF had confidential meetings with anglers in select cities across America where they actually came in person, were presented with what this MLF Pro Bass Tour is, had the option to sign it, could also put kind of a hold next to their name too, give them a 14-day kind of grace period. So all that took place. Then on September 20th, FLW comes out with their press release. They called it an open letter to the anglers. And we need to talk about this later on in a different show, because I think it was really interesting. What they did was come out and say, we're not doing anything. We're sticking with what it is, with the same payouts, the same. We're not going to chase it. Good for them. They're doing what they're doing. This is us. This is how we do it. We're not changing anything. Mm-hmm. Then on September 21st, so this was during the AOY championship, MLF came out with details of the expansion. They came out with the payouts. They came out with the structure for the cups, for the tour, for the championship. A lot more details on that. Then that same evening, September 21st, which was after the Friday after the Bass Angler of the Year, because Saturday was an off day, there was a meeting with Chase Anderson, the head guys at Bass, with all the anglers who wanted to come who were in the top 50 or could make it there. Then the last couple days, there's also been select meetings with anglers with bass too, so that kind of brings us up to date on where we are. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's happened in between here that probably didn't make the cut on the timeline, but just from basically, I would say, July 25th to September 25th, that's 60 days.
Yeah,
all this has gone down in 60 days, and you know, even me and you are still trying to process exactly what it all means.
Well, I want to say this. I've actually spoken with Boyd this morning. He's running a little bit late. So as soon as we hear from him, we're going to get him on, hopefully live via Skype. If not, he will be via phone for this interview today. And hopefully we'll get a few more answers. Now, I do want to mention this, Matthew, the payback, which... The payback, in case you haven't looked at the press release that was over on the Major League Fishing website, when you look at it from a comparison, when you add in those additional events for the top 30, there is no comparison in the payback. Total payback for Major League Fishing is $9,130,000 compared to the total payback available for guys over on the Elite Series, $7,825,000 for bass. But when you break it down for those people that don't qualify for the top 30 on the Major League Fishing size, it's fairly even. I think it's off by maybe $100,000 in favor of a bass. I think the total ended up being for the top 40 guys, or the bottom 40 guys over on bass that don't qualify for the Classic. I believe potential total prize fund was $5.8 million. Over on the Major League Fishing side, for those guys that do not qualify for the top 30, was $5.7 million. So roughly pretty much the same for the guys. The nut is in the difference over on the MLF side if you qualify for the top 30. That is an enormous amount of additional money. The difference between $5.7 million and $9.1 million. Basically.
Right. And we're throwing all these numbers out. And, you know, MLF has also said once they come out with their anglers and they have their field set, they're going to allow them to vote as far as, do they want the entry fees? Do they want that $48,000 entry fee? The payout might go down a little or might be substitute a little for no entry fee. So it's not like those numbers are set in stone. And then also on the Bass side too, Bass has made it very clear that they're willing to work with the anglers to get them to the point where they want to as well. So while these are the numbers that we have now, it would not surprise me, based on the sources that I'm talking with on both sides, if by the time the first cast is made, these are not the numbers that they're actually fishing for, just based on whether they decide entry fees or no entry fees, based on how big the Elite Series field actually ends up being, that type of thing.
Well, it's a lot of money. And,
Yes.
and the bottom line is this, Matt. If the actions taken by Boyd and the entire people, Gary Klein, everybody that's been involved, if the actions that were put forth in forming this, would anything have taken place to build this into what both sides, and really all three sides, are building into as a result of Boyd's and everybody else's actions? Boyd, obviously, with what has taken place with the Major League Fishing events right now, if any of the fans have watched it, there is an enormous amount of branding, and the branding is in alliance with the sponsors of Major League Fishing. Are the guys that are going to make the decision to make the move to Major League Fishing, are they going to be able to have a much greater opportunity to build their brand and showcase their sponsors, or are there going to be the same limitations that there's currently in place?
No. This is the easy way to look at this. This is an expansion of Major League Fishing. So we have our 4 Cup events. We have our General Tire World Championship, which is our Cup Championship. Then, in addition to that, we have all this new deal, which is the Tour and the Tour Championship. The Bass Pro Tour is set up for. I thought I had that turned off. Bass Pro Tour, is set up to be the highest league, unquestionably the highest level of professional bass fishing. It's the PGA. It's the Cup Series in NASCAR. All sponsors are welcome. All angler sponsors. They'll be in their wrap boats, their wrap trucks, their jerseys. And what we're trying to do to make it better for everybody is we're providing a media platform that's never been offered before. So the opportunity for the angler at Major League Fishing with this media platform, that's the real game changer. I mean, you've seen, I think we've released our payout, and you can see it's a substantial increase in payout. But for us to really move professional bass fishing exponentially to the next level, it has to come from creating a much larger fan base. This is all by design. It's not only good for the anglers, but it's also good for our partners that are involved in this. To do it responsibly, to do it so that we protect our fisheries, but we want to bring a lot more people into bass fishing. And you can do that through the vehicle of television. So that's the long-term plan, is to provide this platform that, from an angler perspective, that's a great opportunity. It's an unmatched opportunity, and it's many times multiple. When you see what we're doing in television, it's never been touched at this level. So for an angler to have an opportunity to increase his sponsorship value, that's the big deal here. 3 times payout, that's unprecedented. I know we're paying the most that's ever been paid, but that's not significant by comparison to these anglers getting the opportunity to have this media platform that is many, many times greater than they've ever had. So in the coming years, you'll see anglers that move to financial levels they never dreamed possible. That's the vehicle for that. Then beyond that, part of this dream is to bring a lot more people into the outdoor space, to make them aware of bass fishing, to hopefully make them interactive into bass fishing. And that's where our dream is so valuable for everyone that participates in the fishing industry. Let's just say we could double the number of people that are involved in fishing. Well, for you guys, that should double your viewers. And for boat and motor manufacturers, that doubles their sales. And for rod and reel manufacturers, that doubles their opportunity. That's the big picture thinking of what we can do to elevate our sport. I'm not saying that's guaranteed to happen next year. What I'm saying is that is our vision, and that has been our vision for a long time, is to rise the tide in the fishing world, so that everyone benefits. And we are investing, we're probably the only ones that we are investing tens of millions of dollars to try to accomplish that. And you'll never get there if you don't try. So that's the goal of Major League Fishing. The result of that will be great television shows for the fan base, and greater opportunities for those of us that work in the fishing industry. But make no mistake, none of this is by accident. This is a management plan through the partnership of this organization that was developed to benefit the entire fishing industry. And I'm very, very proud of that. It's a lot more than a tournament circuit. It's a lot more than just good for anglers. It's good for all of fishing, especially all of bass fishing. And that's been the goal from the beginning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, exciting times once again.
Seems like a lot of things happen in between our shows between Tuesday and Thursday, and now we're beginning to see a small glimpse, a little bit of the picture. I preached the patience on Tuesday of seeing who is fishing where. And now there's 3 or 4 websites that have committed to angler tracking to see where they are going to be fishing this year.
Yes.
And I think we've got about 31, 32 on the Bass Pro Tour. Right now we have 1 on the FLW Tour. Brian Thrift, obviously a lot of those guys will be there, but Thrift is fishing. He did not. And 3 that are going to be back for the Elite Series, but only 1 of which that has come out and said, hey, I'm fishing the Elite Series next year, had a Bass Pro Tour invite, and that would be none other than Chris Zaldane.
And we're going to have him on the show here in about 30, 40 minutes. We mentioned on the show that we did on Tuesday, and by the way, I really appreciate the feedback I've received. I know you have also an enormous amount of feedback from that show that we did with Boyd Duckett. So many thanks to all the people that have sent in comments. And the dynamics of this whole thing, Matt, are very, very interesting. And from a media perspective, it has been quite what? It's like I've been doing this so long that I find myself just kind of twisted and turned like I'm inside a washing machine, just going 20,000 different directions. Sometimes I'm on spin cycle. Sometimes I'm rinsing. Sometimes there's more clothes being thrown in to the bucket. It's just, it's something that we have never experienced from an angling standpoint, from a media standpoint, even from a friendship standpoint with a lot of the people that we've developed friendships over the years, that this is really becoming a battle. And you could classify it as an internal battle within themselves to make a decision on which organization that they cement their career in.
Let me lay out the different types of anglers right now. We'll start. We got the FLW Tour guys who didn't get an invite, probably didn't think they should get an invite, that are going to fish the FLW Tour next year, no matter what. They're kind of neutral on this, but they're not happy now because of what the Elite Series guys at Bass Pro guys are fishing for. Then you've got the FLW Tour guys. I think 7 have already committed who are going to the Bass Pro Tour. And then a number of them are not happy that they didn't get an invite. They're sitting there, look, I've got $1.5 million in earnings, cup titles, Angler of the Year. I didn't get an invite. Then you've got the Elite Series guys who are all in on the Bass Pro Tour. A lot of those are the original 24 who started this thing 7 years ago. You got some who have a stake in the Bass Pro Tour. So they were 100% in from the beginning. There's not a shred of doubt in their mind that they're making the right decision. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a number of those Elite Series guys who are, you know, looked at it, saw it, and said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And I don't think they're having any. Then you've got a chunk in the middle that I think are kind of, man, you look at the payouts of the Bass Pro Tour and a couple second places, and I'm making more than I make all year on the Elite Series, bar none. And then you've got the guys who are leaning towards the Elite Series. Obviously, based on the numbers so far, a lot fewer leaning towards the Elite Series than are leaning towards the Bass Pro Tour. I think Boyd said on Tuesday when we had Boyd Duckett on that we know about what we've seen about 50% of the, what do you call them, bells and whistles and format and all the stuff that, and who knows what these guys know who are making the decision. I would hope they may know more than 50% since they're the ones making it. But then on the Bass side, who knows what percentage we know too about what they actually have plans wise and what they've offered their anglers too. So there's a lot going on from a lot of different aspects.
I recall that conversation actually about how tough the decision was based upon the current responsibilities that you had at your occupation. All right. You had a great job in Northern Cal, and you decided that this is the decision that I have made because this is what I want to do for a career and for my future. What I want to know, Chris, is how difficult was this decision, and did that decision compare to that decision to leave the secure world and tackle the world of professional fishing?
Bass fishing. First of all, Mark, that you got an awesome memory, and that's an excellent question. And there's been a lot of parallels between that decision for me to leave my, $90,000 a year job, to go, chase fish for a living. A lot of parallels between that scenario and what we were faced with here this past week. And to answer that question, it's real simple. I do it because I love it. I'm passionate about it, and I'm all about setting goals and crushing goals. Like, I'm all about setting them and seeing the path to that goal and making the appropriate steps to get there. And I've based that. I mean, my whole career is based on that thought right there. And I announced that I'm sticking with bass, and I think I was the first one to do it. And I woke up the other morning, I saw the social media blowing up of all these announcements of guys going to the new league, and man, I let the emotion get the best of me. And over the course of the last 7, 8, 9 days, and a lot of things have happened behind the scenes that, man, it's been a really emotional, experience for me. And I woke up the other morning and I wrote that release there and said, I'm staying with Bass because of the goals that are available to the kids, the up and comers, the high school guys, the college guys, the opens guys, the goals that are available for them to set and for them to step up, make the appropriate steps to reach. So I just think, that was the best decision for me. It's the best decision for my wife, who's also an angler, who also fishes the opens, who also has the goal, the dream to make the Bassmaster Elite Series, to make the Classic and hoist that trophy someday. So when I look at it like that, the decision for me and my family was easy.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, quite the exciting weekend, my friend.
It's starting to take shape. We're actually down to 2 slots left in the Bass Pro Tour.
Based upon your estimations.
Yeah,
or is
and based on, there's a couple sites that are running the angler tracking lists through social media, and it's weird to see all this play out through social media, Mark, because that's really where we're getting all of this information from, if it's not a press release from MLF, FLW, or BASS. But it looks like the fields are about set. Obviously, no official word for the field. The MLF field is set. Who knows what the heck they're going to do on the Elite? So, fortunately, we got someone on who might be able to tell us a little bit of that information.
Well, we're going to have the Vice President, Director of Communications for Bass, Mr. Dave Preck. And I think he's been there longer than Tripp. So I think he is the longest reigning Bass employee. He has been through, I believe, every single ownership at Bass. And we're going to see if he can answer some of our questions on the status, because bottom line, Matthew, is the vast majority of guys that would have requalified for the 2019 Bassmaster Elite Series are now fishing Major League Fishing.
Let me just run down some numbers as of 8:33 a.m. on Tuesday. Is it already October 2nd?
Yes, it is.
Already Halloween month. 66 Elite Series anglers have committed to MLF. The only 2 basin. Now, I don't know if Mark Daniels Jr. got an invite. I would think he did. Wouldn't you, Mark?
What's that?
I haven't seen Mark Daniel Jr.'s name on the list of guys who got an invite.
I have not
seen him on the list of times who haven't. We're assuming he got an invite. And then Mike Iaconelli obviously got an invite, and he's supposed to have a show later tonight where he's going to talk about it. He's been pumping all sorts of stuff for the last week. Yeah. So those are the only 2 we think. But there's 66 Elite Series anglers that are committed to MLF. There's 10 FLW anglers that are committed to MLF. Out of the invitations, there are only 6 anglers who were invited to fish the Bass Pro Tour who turned it down. Those would be Seth Feider, Chris Zaldane, Bill Lowe, and Steve Kennedy, Drew Benton, and Stetson Blaylock.
All right, Dave, what right now can you tell us about the facts are that a large number of Elite Series anglers have made the move from the Elite Series over to Major League Fishing. What can you tell us about what your plans are to fill those spots and fill the remainder of your field for 2019?
We're still working on that. We have a published system of filling up the Elite Series, qualifying people for that, and that's mainly through the Opens, the Bassmaster Opens. The championship is 2 weeks from now, and in that event, according to what we've already published, there will be 11 of the top Opens anglers who will qualify for the Elite Series. And then I think we also take someone from the Bass Nation. And beyond that, we have the leeway to go even further down the Opens list. But we are in consultation with the anglers who have committed to stay with us. And, going forward, we want to be very much in collaboration with the anglers and make sure we get buy-in there. So other details have not even been determined yet. We have published a target of 80 anglers. We think that would work best for payouts and for field size. It's certainly more manageable than 108 or 10, which we've had in past years. So this is a good opportunity to cut the field down to 80, and that'll be good for the ones who stay with us, and that'll be good for the sport as well. If we don't, we may not try to get to 80. 70 is a good number too, and then over the years, a number of the pros have always thought that 50 is the right number for the Elite Series, but none of that's been determined yet. We're still talking about it.
Dave, this is Matt here. 110 guys this past year. Obviously, every single angler has a different relationship with the organization they fish for, regardless of what organization that is. But out of the 110, what percentage of those guys? Uh-oh.
That's not me.
You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry. What percentage of those guys do you think have called Bass, have reached out to you, have talked to you, to where you feel really have made a vested, informed decision on this, have had deep conversations on both sides of the fence, as opposed to the guys who just go, oh, this guy's staying, so I'm going to stay, or this guy's leaving, so I'm going to leave? How much time do you think the average Elite Series angler has invested in his decision?
Not as much as I would have thought. There's a group of, maybe 20 of those guys that it was really, really painful to leave. They felt that, they had built their careers on the Elite Series, and yet they were tempted to go over and try something new. The first wave, of course, they were planning to leave already. I think many of them were kind of looking at retirement and seeing this as a retirement plan for them. And then they began recruiting over past months, I don't know, maybe years, a number of other anglers to join them. And then pretty soon they hit a tipping point, and a whole slew of anglers just said, well, my buddies, my roommates over there, I want to be there. I don't want to miss out. So some made the decision on that basis, but I'd say about a third of the field that I'm aware of, that contacted us, and they really did some soul searching. We contacted them too prior to their decision making, and we reached out to talk to everybody in the 110 or 11 candidates for requalifying, and their answers were all over the board. But I think most of them just thought it was, they wanted to try this new thing.
Dave, why do you think this situation took place?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. I wish you'd ask some of those guys. I'm sure that some of the reason that people left is they felt that we hadn't changed entry fees and payouts. We hadn't put more money into it over the recent years. They weren't aware of what we had done in increasing payouts in Toyota Texas Fest or in Angler of the Year Championship and the other things that we've done just in the past few years. But, the perception is reality. They probably, thought that the industry is booming, therefore bass must be booming, and they're just keeping all the money. And so that's probably a part of it. There were some other reasons that they might resent something we do. I don't know. Everybody, I guess it's probably 80 different reasons those guys went over there. But I don't think the ones who reached back out to us, and there were about 20 of them who called or wrote and were very nice and said, most of them said it's not something that you did or failed to do. We just want to try this new opportunity. So I think that's mostly it. I hope so.
All right. What is the possibility that some of the former Bass Elite Series pros might get an invitation to come back and fish the Elite Series in 2019, such as a Zell Rowland or a Charlie Hartley or somebody like that?
We've heard from them and quite a few others who have fished the Elite Series at one time or another. They'd love to come back, and they were very important to us. But that's a stage of filling the field that we haven't reached yet. And as I said, we're in discussions with the anglers and with kind of an advisory board of industry people who, not anglers, but who really love bass and want to see us succeed and continue to contribute to the sport. So we'll cross that bridge when we need to come to it.